Hello everyone, today we're going to look at primitive types in Java. We're going to start by the definition of primitive types, continue with the numeric primitive types, look at characters, which is another type in Java, and finally look at the Boolean primitive type. So by definition, primitive types are the most basic data types available in Java programming language. So these are the basic blocks that are used for data manipulation. There are 8 primitive types in Java: byte, short, int, long, float, double, which are used for to store numbers. There's the char, which stores a character. And finally, the Boolean, which stores two values, either true or false. So we're going to start by looking at the numeric primitive type. So as we saw previously, we have 6 different numeric primitive types, and we have 4 of them that allows us to store whole numbers. The last 2 allows us to store decimal numbers. So we're going to start by the byte. Byte has a size of 1 byte. So it stores whole numbers ranging from -128 to 127. This is quite a small amount of, these are quite small numbers. So if you want to store 10,000, the number 10,000 for instance, byte will be too small for you to range that number. So we're going to look at the next primitive type, which is the short primitive type, which has a size of 2 bytes. So this is better. It allows us to store numbers ranging from -32,768 to 32,768. If you want to store an even bigger number, you can use the int data type, which is able to store 4 bytes. So it will allow you to store ranging from that number to that number. And finally, the long data type has a size of 8 bytes. So it will allow you to store ranging from this number to that number. The majority of time, we're going to use int as a data type to store whole numbers. So byte and short are quite small compared to int, and long is very, very huge. So normally, the numbers that we will want to store can be stored with the int data type. So usually in Java, we use the int data type to store whole numbers because it ranges from that number to that number. So this is enough for storing purposes. For the last 2, which stores decimal numbers, we have the float, which has a size of 4 bytes. So it will be sufficient to store from 6 to 7 decimal digits. And we have the double, which has a size of 8 bytes, and that is sufficient to store 15 decimal digits. So again, we will normally use float when we want to store a decimal number because 6 to 7 decimal digits is normally enough for us to use, and double can store 15 decimal digits. So we don't want to overuse like a big size when we can use a smaller size like float, for instance. So in summary, we often use int to store whole numbers and float to store decimal numbers. But it's good for you to know all of the numeric primitive types in Java. The next primitive type that we're going to look at is the char primitive type. The char primitive type has a size of 2 bytes and it stores a single character or letter. So char can store an uppercase letter like uppercase A, B, C, a lowercase letter like lowercase a, b, c, punctuations like a period or a comma, digit like 1, 2, 3, special characters like a slash or a percentage sign or a ampersand like this one, and finally control characters like \n or \t. In Java, \n is used to create a new line and \t is used to create a tab. So a char will be able to store a single character or letter of any of these ones. However, it cannot store, for instance, A, B, C. Oops. It will not be able to store A, B, C since A, B, C is not a single character or a single letter. It's 3 characters. So it will not be able to store anything like that, but it will be able to store a single character or single letter. And don't forget to always put these quote signs in the extremity of your character. So now let's move to the Boolean primitive type. The Boolean primitive type in Java has a size of 1 bit and stores either the value true or false. So the Boolean value represents a true or false expression. So the only 2 Boolean values that exist are either true or false. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any question, please don't hesitate to write them below and have a great rest of your day. See you in the next video.